Hi kids, and welcome back to Itchy and Scratchy. No, I'm joking. And welcome to the best thing you watched this week. It's that week we've been dreading, and I have to say it's not been my favourite week of watching, at least. This is Clowns Week, our top 5. You got Chris, kind of Chris. I don't know what he is at the moment. Chris the Clown, or Chris has been replaced by an evil entity clown. And Ruben, who's also been replaced. Movies and Munchies, the Ruby Tuesday. Welcome to the best thing you watch. Top 5 clown. Should we pause or let's do our thumbnail?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm old and I can't see anything because I have my glasses off. So let me. This is behind the scenes, everybody. But here we go. So I gotta take this off so I can actually see something. But yeah.
It'd be so bad if you pulled off and there was like no skin.
Okay, well, oh, I can finally see. And wow, Ruben, your makeup looks amazing.
What makeup?
That okay. You've taken off your regular makeup, and this is just
how I look in the morning.
I'm sorry, that was rude of me, wasn't it?
You're clownist.
Oh my goodness. All right. Yeah, this week has not been something that I have been looking forward to at all.
No, this is... I have not enjoyed this week's viewing. I put it off pretty much the last minute, actually, to be fair. I watched the ones I knew I needed to watch this morning, watched a couple last night, and I've like been dipping my toes into the Clownverse, which is more vast than I realized, and I am more disappointed in humanity than ever now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know what I discovered? That there is a lot of clown trash out there also.
Oh my gosh, so much! I can't believe how bad some of those films are.
Yeah, they went the way of, our animal-themed horrors, that they just got ridiculous. And well, when we get to the list, one that borders on the stupid, did make it onto my list because it was just, I don't know. Yeah. So should we just dive in?
Yeah, let's go for it. Obviously, we're probably going to have a few honorable mentions.
Yes. I'm gonna save my honorable mentions because I don't. Again, everybody, we don't talk about our list beforehand, so I don't know what's on Ruben's. Yeah. Ruben doesn't know what's on mine, and so there might be overlap there. Anyway, so I don't want to steal thunder. Oh, that's just wrong. Okay, so I'm going to go my number 5. Ranking from not worst, but to best it's called Stitches. This is. Have you seen this one?
No, I saw it on the list, and I was like,
okay. Well, this one does border on that stupid because it's kind of a comedy, and it's kind of forced. And what you have is this just terrible person who's a clown. He goes to a kid's party where, he's a terrible clown, but the kids are also terrible to him. And so when he just is bombing at what he's doing, the kids then are mean to him, and through an accident, he dies. And it is bloody and it's gory. And then there's this clown sacrifice ceremony that happens. And 6 years later, really, the clown comes back to life. And now he is there to seek his revenge on the now teenagers at a party. It's ridiculous. Now, this is one of those that why the editor of a film should not be the same person that wrote and directed the film, because they believe everything is gold. Everything that they wrote was absolutely perfect and should stay in the. So you have scenes of people.
Cut that. That's a wrap. We've got it in the bag.
Everything. Every bit of footage that we shot, we need to keep. And so you just have. The sound is awkward. The blocking. All of the performances. Not all, almost all of the performances are really they're stiff, they're unnatural. The dialogue is very cringy. The thing, though, that this has got going for it is the practical effects. I was actually blown away by some of the stuff that they did with the practical effects. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. They have one guy is kind of turned into a balloon a little bit. Balloon animals kind of come into play a little bit. Now there is some CGI in this, and that is just terrible. Like the guy's nose comes off, and it runs around and it sniffs to find out where the kids are. And from that angle, that's actually kind of unique, kind of creative. The execution of that, not so much. But it's, I don't know. It's number 5 on my list for a reason, because it's worth checking out, but you have to sit through a lot of cringe to get to something really great. Now, when it is bloody and when the violence happens, it gets very gory and it's disgusting and it's like, ugh, that's gross. But it's always with this hint of laughability to it, because it's not utterly believable, even though it works in the context of everything else. So it's trying to be a horror comedy, and the comedy doesn't land. It's not really even scary or tense. It's just it's gross, but then the practical effects are the reason that you go, yep, okay, this was good. I had fun with it. Not necessarily it was good, but
Okay. Well, that doesn't sound as bad as some of the ones I've had to sit through this week. Honestly, when I get to them, we can talk about them, because I've kept them in my honorable mentions of clown films to avoid this week with.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. So what's bottom of your list?
So bottom of my list, it made the top 5. Honestly, I found it difficult because there were so many, and I watched a few. I stopped watching a few, not because I was scared, just because I didn't want to put myself through another worst film I've ever seen and make me really sad. So we briefly spoke about this. This one is Killer Klowns from Outer Space. It's my number 5.
It's on my list. It's my number 3.
It's your number 3. Do you want to wait, or do you want to talk about it now?
We can talk about it a little bit now. Yeah.
Okay. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. A little bit of history. Directed by 3 brothers, who is the only film they've ever directed, still to this day. They have worked a lot on, I think, The Simpsons, which is one of the reasons why the clowns still have the same amount of fingers that the Simpsons characters have. Positives. Okay. The clowns were actually scary. They were creepy. The designs are really just nasty. The story... Yeah. The story...
It's ridiculous. But what clown movie isn't ridiculous, right?
But the title was what sold me. I was like, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This is like Attack of the Giant Tomatoes or something. I kind of loved it, but I also kind of hated it at the same time. I think you were meant to do that. They were ridiculous. I mean, it's a bad film. In no way is it a good film. In one shot, there's a guy coming out of the cabin, and you can see the boom guy operating just inside. The people that are captured by the clowns are turned into giant cotton candy floss sacks for no reason. But then there was also one woman that was turned into a giant yellow balloon, and I never really understood why. Why was she special? Why did she get the yellow balloon and not automatically turned into like putty for drinking juice?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't remember why she was spared the edibleness. Maybe she just wasn't edible. I don't.
But I do love the ridiculousness of it. The sets were actually quite fun. You know, they went for their when they needed to do stop motion or a mix of animatronics and stop motion. The little popcorn that moves across the floor, which is ridiculous and so much fun, and then grows into a sort of thing, coming out of the basket. Also, how did they get away with this being a PG-13? Because honestly, there were moments I was just like, holy crap, man. PG-13?
I don't know how they got away with that either. I think it must have just been the time that it's just kind of coming into that, or maybe they shaved off just to, that like they're hedging right at the edge there of what they can get away with.
So what were your thoughts on this?
I loved the character design. and the rubber suits. I mean, they are ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. And they look like giant rubber suits. But that was some of the charm with it, too, that they just, as they walk along, and they are creepy. I mean, it has this level of just, because you have some that are really big,
they are creepy.
Some that are tiny. Yeah. I think about like that time where they do the shadow puppet on the wall. I mean, just, yeah.
So creative as well.
And that's really what I loved. I think when I first saw this, I went in thinking, oh my gosh, there is absolutely nothing redeeming that is ever going to come from this other than the title, and I ended up having a lot of fun with it. I mean, I've watched it 2 or 3 times since I first saw it. And it's just one of those that it becomes a casual watch. I mean, it is silly and it is ridiculous. And I don't feel afraid in this one, but you're right. Yeah, there is that level of creepiness to it and just maybe a little unease. And I think some of it is just the combo of the character design, which I'm sorry, I don't want these giant-headed clowns coming after me or showing up at my door. But then the fact that they drink or eat people. Yeah. And as a side note,
with a straw.
Yeah, exactly. And as a side note, and I think we're going to get into this more and more as we dive in. But what the crap is up with the entire idea encircling clowns eating people?
Right.
That's
there's a law there.
There is.
I think. Well, we'll go into it more. Yeah.
But yeah. For Killer Clowns from Outer Space, I mean, it's one of those that it knows what it is. It is ridiculous. It definitely has problems to it. But it also, I mean, if you enjoy watching something where people put the blood, sweat, and tears into some character design and actually made these creatures come to life in a very convincing way. Now, sure, it's just a giant costume, but dude, somebody made that costumes, it just, yeah.
It's the sort of film I could see people dressing up, going to a theater like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and just really getting into the zeitgeist of the cult classic that it's become.
But would you want to go to that show?
Fun with it. Oh no, I'm not going to that. I said them, no, not me. They,
others.
Yeah. Although saying that, I am currently clown.
Well, but it has a purpose, right? I mean,
yes, it does.
Have you gone to the shops or anything yet today?
I need to, I think, before I take it off.
Maybe stroll by a park or something just to...
just sit on the bench. Just read a book.
Yeah. There was a thing going on in the U.S. a couple of years ago and in California, I mean, I think it sprouted up in different places too where...
Yeah, but I think Russia had started it and it got dark. Like people running at you with chainsaws because in clown costumes.
I'll have to find it and send it to you, but I was in Home Depot one night around Halloween time.
Story time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it was some random Tuesday night in October. I think it was October. That would make sense, sort of. But walking down the aisle of Home Depot is a guy dressed in a clown outfit. Over his shoulder is an axe. The dude is full on buying an axe. I took pictures.
So the dude in the clown suit is buying an axe.
Yeah.
You took pictures. I would have left.
Well, I did keep my eye on him, but I think I took pictures because of evidence of if we're murdered, this is who it was.
Who needs a movie when you have the real thing at home?
Yeah, it was wrong. It was just wrong. Anyway, okay. I need to digress here.
All right. What's your number 4?
Number 4. This one is from 1989, and it is. I watched it. Actually, my wife and I had watched it when we were in high school. And she wasn't my wife at the time, but we were dating. And we watched it with a bunch of friends, and it was creepy at the time. We've recently found a way to revisit it, and it's not as creepy, but it is Clownhouse. and it is, I believe, Sam Rockwell's first motion picture.
Wow, that's a seal of approval right there, if anything.
Right?
See where Sam started.
Yeah, he's a terrible person in this. I mean, he plays one of three brothers. He's the oldest. The dialogue is really cringy, but the premise is that these boys live at this house. It's kind of secluded, and the mom and dad are both out of town for business, whatever. And so it's around Halloween. But in the midst of this, three patients have broken out of a mental institution. And now, when you're listening later on, there's a tiny little blurb on the radio that's playing like as a news report. And I got to read it because it was, okay. So it's the news report says that the mental patients escaped because they were denied their circus privileges.
What?
Just
Nice.
That's stupid. That's stupid. But anyway, the patients go because why wouldn't you? The kids go to a circus, and the mental patients then visit the circus. Because they're deranged, supposedly they kill the clowns. They dress up at the clowns, and then now they're going to torment people. Which the tormenting of the people is the three brothers, and the youngest brother is just terrified of clowns, rightfully so. But he gets this, he wins at one of the circus games. He wins this doll that is a clown doll, and it has this just laugh to it. It's like, nope, gotta go. You can't, do not bring that home. And so, yeah, that's exactly it. That's not right. Okay, yeah. Cool. So there's a level of chase to this that, that's pretty good. There's kind of, it's not gaslighting per se, but it's almost like unreliable narrator, or even more so when you have a character that nobody believes, even though they have not shown themselves to be unreliable. You know what I mean? They just, so the youngest brother is never believed by his older brothers. And so the youngest brother sees the clowns, and and so anyway, the chase ensues. Some of the camera work is great because you'll have this house is it's like 3 stories, and there's all kinds of different stairwells that go, or stairways that go, and so they crisscross and everything, and so it's a big house, which allows them to kind of Scooby-Doo it and chase through the house, and you never know where somebody could be hiding or anything else, and the camera will follow that, and so you will watch the camera just chase even if there's nobody there. So we become, or the camera becomes us in part of that running, and so it becomes, it's a little tense. I mean, it's unsettling. I don't think I was ever scared with it, but you're like, no, that stop. Don't look there. Don't look there. You need to get out. Don't hide under there. I mean, you're yelling at the TV for that. There is a scene in it, not it, but this movie where the kid walks past the window, and as he walks past, a clown on the outside is mirroring him. And it's, but what's funny is that exact same thing happens in Stitches, the movie that was my number 5. So I don't know if that was an inspiration, or if they saw that, or if that just happenstance. You know what I mean? It's probably not the first time that this has ever happened, but just watching the two, match step for step as they go through. And then the character that we're, our protagonist is like, exactly, and then they keep going on their way, and then bad things happen. So it's if you can find it, it is worth checking out. It is it doesn't totally hold up. I mean, it has very 1989 feel to it. The writing is pretty bad. The dialogue is bad, and it's good to see where Sam Rockwell came from and how much more he has improved.
I mean, he's brilliant.
I think he makes every movie that he's in better. I'm a massive Sam Rockwell fan, so there's not a slight to him. And you got to start somewhere. This just he overacts in this. He's not wonderful at all. But
Yep.
he,
I mean, that's fine. I think every actor does a few that just aren't great.
yeah, and he's a kid at this one too. I mean, he's not super old, so it's forgivable. But
I mean, look at Johnny Depp in Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. That it's not really acting; it's screaming.
exactly. So yeah,
Well, that's an interesting one. So that's your number 4.
Yes. What's yours?
Yeah. So there, if you follow horror groups like I do on Facebook, they're often saying, "Hey, have you seen this?" And sometimes there's a few threads that you will follow that are clown ones. Have you seen this one? What's the best clown movie? This is one that keeps cropping up, and people say, "No, you really have to." And I normally go, "No, I'm good." But this, I was like, okay, now I kind of have to. Let's see what this is about. And it's actually it's a newer one. It's 2016, directed and written by Damien Leone. Never heard of him before. Probably will never watch anything by him again. And it's called Terrifier.
That's my number 1.
Oh, is it? Okay, let's wait. Let's do your number 1, and we'll just skip to my number 3. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Again, see, we don't share our list, so.
Okay, so I'm going to. Yeah, my number 3 is a bit of a. Okay. It's not really a clown movie. It's actually a superhero movie. But it has a clown in it for pretty much the whole movie. It came out in 1997 and is called Spawn. Have you seen Spawn?
Oh, is this with John Leguizamo?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, as the clown.
Yeah. I haven't seen it since it first came out.
So I'm a massive fan of Spawn. I love the anime. I love the comic books. The film isn't great. It's not really true to anything really from Spawn. But there are a lot of fun moments in it, and Michael J. White as Spawn was great. I wish we could see him in a better scripted film. You got Martin Sheen, who was excellent. But the standout, without a doubt, was John. How do you pronounce his name? Leguizamo, thank you. As this fat demon clown.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
And man alive, he just chews the scenery. There is a moment that's always, when people mention Spawn, they'll be like, oh, do you remember that scene with the clown when he's eating the pizza and it's got anchovies on it? He's picked it out from the bin and it's got anchovies and maggots. It's just crawling with maggots. And he goes, oh, I hate these. And he flicks off the anchovies and then eats the pizza with the maggots. And you're like, oh, that is John. Like, imagine Sid the Sloth, but really evil, because Sid the Sloth is him. And just always cracking like the dumbest, bad, and risque jokes in Spawn. He's that kind of sidekick that you don't really want, that you kind of love to hate. But his character was great. And eventually you see what he becomes. Like, he reveals himself to be this massively strong, powerful demon in this clown costume. And he was creepy and weird enough for you to go, yeah, I know you're not right, but I kind of love watching you on screen because you're so wrong. So he's my number 3. So not really a clown film, but he's in it the whole movie with Spawn. He's kind of the guy that teaches Spawn how to deal with his powers, really. So
I'll consider that a clown movie. Yeah, if you have a major player that's a clown, it's a clown movie. Yeah. I saw the image of him just now, and then not right at all. All right. So where does that put us?
So you're number 3 then. I think.
Well, that was Killer Klowns. So we're at my number 2.
You're number 2. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this one, simply enough, is titled Clown.
Oh, okay. This is my number 1.
Okay. Well, then...
well, let's do it.
Yeah, because... Wait.
Yeah, because that was my 3.
Wait, but let's do your 2. Sorry, people. This is riveting entertainment, isn't it? As we figure out our math. Yeah, okay, so go ahead and do your number 2 so that we can both then do our number 1s.
Okay.
We're so well prepared.
Yeah, I mean, we are prepared, but it's just weird. Okay, so my number 2 is possibly the worst film I've ever seen, and it's terrible. Okay. It's also terrible that it's not good, but it's my number 2 because it's terrible, and I don't understand how this movie got made and why people gave them money. And it's next to Terrifier, I think it's the goriest film I've ever seen. It's called Clownado.
Oh, I watched the trailer for this and I just couldn't do it.
I mean, the dialogue, the scripting is awful. None of the film makes sense. There's barely any Clownados, which is what sold me on the... And when you do see the Clownado, it's an After Effects thing which they slapped onto the screen that they haven't even really stretched out enough to be a Clownado. It's just there on the side of the screen. Okay, so all of the special effects are bad, except for the practical effects, which are ridiculous. Like, talk about body horror. You know, there's bits of body everywhere. Think From Dusk Till Dawn, sort of, you know, people playing bodies. Somebody else wearing other body parts. You see spines, you know, exposed. It's just... It's nasty, but it's so ridiculous. You kind of want to watch it because you don't know how bad it's going to be next. So every scene you're watching is like, how can this possibly get worse? Why is she alive again? I don't get the lore of this film. You just have questions upon questions. The acting, oh my gosh. Like, I know sometimes you're in films like this to act badly, like on purpose. But they're trying to act like it's an old-timey detective film. So they're speaking like, you know, honey, like one of those black and white films.
That doesn't match the aesthetic at all.
But it doesn't match the aesthetic at all. It also feels like they've dubbed it over the actors that are obviously English speakers. It's a work of art because it's just, what is this film? Okay, so that's my number 2. Don't watch this film.
Yeah, I think if you watch the trailer, that will be enough. Actually, you know what? Yeah. I'm not sure I watched the entire trailer. That
is basically.
Yeah, we were scrolling through some movies last night just to be like, what should we watch? Because there was a couple that I wasn't sure if they were going to make the list or whatever, you know, and I ended up not watching them because even though there were clowns on the title, or not on the title, excuse me, just on the cover or something, when I watched like the trailer, it didn't really have clowns in it. And so, or they were in there just as a minor piece. So it really wasn't a clown movie. It was just, you know, a horror that actually happened to have a clown. But anyway, that was one of them, the Clownado. And again, I clicked on it because of the title. Because how can you not?
Yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, I love Sharknado. Clownado.
It's
obvious
worse,
next step.
even, right? You know what I mean? Okay. You know what? I'm going to do a couple of honorable mentions.
You want to do your honorable mentions?
Yeah. So mine are all 3 It's. I think...
What?
It.
3?
Well, the original Tim Curry version. And then and then
part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
As different takes on the same story. And, you know, Tim Curry version, I mean, it was a television miniseries when I was, you know, the kid. And
I had it on video.
Did you really? Yeah. Oof. Yeah, no, I remember, I mean, that was nasty and scary and not right at all. And
Tim Curry, man.
He was brilliant at it. I mean, he really crafted a gnarly Pennywise. And then to think, you know, I mean, for that time, too, some of the effects that they did, and, you know, I'm not sure how much of it actually holds up from an effect perspective, you know. No.
Have you ever read the book?
I have not. We have it, and it's like that thick.
It is like that, and there's some dodgy parts that they left out on both
versions, right? Yeah.
Both versions.
Yeah, my wife started reading it, and that's where she was like, "Oh gosh, wow, this was not in the movie." Yeesh.
Yeah, for good reason.
Yeah, exactly. So that, you know, and I enjoyed the more recent chapters that they did. I thought it was there were some very creepy moments to it, some really good, you know, make your hair stand on end a little bit.
I like Skarsgård. I mean, all the Skarsgårds, they're ridiculously talented.
Yeah, and the thing that he does with his eyes, that's just not right and human.
Yeah.
So that, but...
And let's say that the spider looked better in the newer version than
Correct.
the original one, which is just like... It does feel like sometimes Stephen King gets these end of his stories and like, I'm bored now. Monster!
Yes.
Big monster!
Yeah, I think that's a lot of with his... probably the biggest criticism that I ever have with his books is sometimes just doesn't know how to stick the landing there or how to wrap it up in a way.
I've got another idea. Like, let's big alien head. Giant boulder.
Exactly. So, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I think to have a clown list and not have it on there.
Absolutely.
So, what are some of your honorable mentions?
Some of my honorable mentions. 2 to avoid. One called Funhouse Massacre.
Okay.
It's okay, but it's like you will forget it in T minus. I've already forgotten it.
Bummer. Okay.
So it doesn't do well in that. There's one called Dead Silence. That's very early James 1. It's 2007 and has a clown puppet. So it's a puppet, but it has a clown face, and it's based on the Mary Shelley and Billy poem, apparently. And I thought it was pretty good actually. A lot of people has got really low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, like 38 and I think 58 for the audience. I didn't mind it. And I think I mentioned recently to you that we've been going through Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And we reached episode 9 of season 1. And I totally forgotten. It was a nightmare episodes where your nightmares come to life. And there was a big segment with this guy with like classic puppet makeup. Holding a stabby knife, but behind plastic sheeting in a school with the lighting like that, and just running at you, going and calling your name like, "Hi, Chris." Yeah.
No, that.
Really good creepy episode. Creepy Clowns and Fear of Clowns are 2 films that are terribly made, that are on Prime Amazon. If you want to watch a terrible film. That is just bad the whole way through, not scary.
Oh, just terrible. Just
terrible. They're not like good. They're good. They're not bad. Good. They're bad.
Oh, okay.
So those are my mentions.
Maybe not honorable, all of them.
Yeah, they just mentions. Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So my number 1, Terrifier. Now I know that Art the Clown has made other appearances, and I think
Oh, has he? I didn't know.
Yeah, there was.
Oh, that's
there's a movie called All Hallows Eve, and I don't remember if that one is a short, and then they made All Hallows Eve into a longer movie, or if there was a short of Terrifier. But either way, I mean, just the dude that dressed up, just the makeup, the full white, the creepy, his...
It's the little hat that he adds on.
It's just,
And the miminess.
Yeah. Because he doesn't speak for a lot of it, it's just, it's wrong. I mean, it's just nasty. And this is a very, very, very bloody and gory movie. And there is a kill in it where, and I don't remember if this or Bone Tomahawk came out first, but they both share a kill, and it is not right from bottom to top, upside down, and I think, well, actually, both of them they saw, but he's and then the fact that well, that's a spoiler. I won't get into that, but Art the Clown is not necessarily, well, he's human, but he's not... Is he?
Is he human like he is Michael Myers human?
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, he's not easily stoppable. I think I'll leave it at that he, you know, and just that, the chase. Now, some of the dialogue in this is terrible. I mean, it's very...
But it's modern, but it's filmed like it's almost on cassette, like it's B horror.
Yeah, and it does have that B horror feel to it, but it worked. for me, I ended up having a lot of fun with it, and the gross out factor, I think, really plays into this, where you combine just gnarly kills with the clown who doesn't talk much and just.
There's a scene where he's on the tricycle, too small tricycle, and he's going around in circles, and he's just, because his knees are massively high, and he's not making a sound, and the woman's trying to escape, but she can't, and then she has to peer around the corner, and he's doing that thing like with his head, but he's still going around in circles, and I'm just like, why am I watching this?
When they have that detached look to them, you know what I mean? Like, it's a level of confidence, and it's a confidence, I guess maybe is the right word for it, or the best word for it, or determination, where they know what they're going to do with you, or to you, what they're going to do with you, and they know that they don't necessarily have to rush to get to it. You know what I mean? That there's a deliberate pace that they have to it, but it's also like, I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, and really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what terrified me in Terrifier. There's this one scene where there's one of the ladies that she's decided to haunt over this Halloween Eve. I think he chases 3, and one of them he's got on a table, and he's got this like little hammer, and he keeps taunting his victim. Like most horrors or stuff, they were like, I got this weapon, and here we go. I'm just gonna start cutting off fingers, and put it in a little bit of a stew, make a nice meal out of it,
That went dark.
He's like, did it? I don't know. Maybe it's the clown makeup. And he just like, no, not this one. And then he like goes back to his tools, and he's like, oh, how about the saw? And then and then she stops breathing, and he waits for her to calm down, and then he's got his new exhibit to show her. And I'm like, I thought it couldn't get any worse, but this is worse. This is way worse.
Diabolical. I mean, it's just
yeah.
It's
his teeth as well, and the whole whole
when it has that because he's not really, he's more of that what is it? Is it a French type of clown, or maybe like you said, mine?
Yeah, it's not so traditional.
Yeah, it's not traditional clown like you see, with the red curly hair and the it's not right. Not right at all.
Yeah. So this is why it's your
my number one. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. No, I can see why. Should we go to mine?
Please. Yes.
We still have to talk about more clowns. Unfortunately. Okay, so mine is called Clown. It's a 2015 film, and I have to say this is the best clown film I've seen. That scared the crap out of me, but also has a really good story. I thought the story was excellent, which is why it's at my number one. It's the first time I've ever seen a lore story about clowns, which gives you an origin of clowns, which is somewhat believable. And you're like, yeah, that actually makes sense to me. I don't know if it's true, but it could be. Like, I totally believe it. Like, if you go into the original lore of Father Christmas or Krampus, and you see kind of like the Nordic beliefs and the gods and where they come from, the half demon, whatever, don't do anything bad, get those colds, anyway. So you take a bit of lore, and then suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, this makes much more sense. And so you have this clown demon costume, and the transformation from father to demon is incredible. You're rooting for the guy to overcome it, but at the same time, this film is breaking rules that you're not allowed to touch kids, and it doesn't show it, but it kind of does. Like, you see the munchins and crunchins, and it's so gross.
Yeah. And I love that the dad is conflicted through it, even when he's transforming, that you see him fighting, and some parts of him pop out a little bit to be like, no, just lock me up or whatever, and then
It was actually a lot of fun. I thought it was a good movie. It was a proper horror. I think they used a lot of practical effects for the transformation, which is great. The gore was there, but I think they got away with some of what they could do. Because it's kids, you have to be very careful. But because the way they show it, I think they got away with that. And then at the end, you're just like, okay.
Yeah. I was rooting for a different ending the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think that's the beauty of this story, that you're right. The story is amazing. I mean, it's really well done because of that backstory that they give and all of that background on the lore. And like it made me want to go and check it out. I didn't.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't because that terrifies me, and I'm not sure I really want.
I don't want that in my search history.
Exactly. Yes. But just even the fact that, you know, this the cloying, you know, and how it was forgotten and now it has become.
It's like I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah, it really does. And you know, and it's not that. I mean, it uses the movie It, the story It, uses children as food. As a thing, but that's also feeding off of fear. This is actually feeding off of children.
Like this is like the most succulent meat is kids. I gotta have kids, man.
Yeah, and then you find out when you find it, like Peter Stormare is in this, and I love him. Just what he brings to characters, he's great, and he's slightly unhinged. Well, sometimes very unhinged, and you know, and because of people not taking a moment to stop and listen or explain or have a conversation, bad things happen after that. And so, you know, the situations arise with him and progress. But I loved hearing why he knows so much about this and all of this. But then there's a darkness with it as well. And the way
there's a
no, go for it.
I was gonna say there's a section where the wife is trying to help her husband, and she's doing some research on her own, and she comes across a video cassette, and she starts watching kind of like what has happened and the reason why, and that bit is terrifying. The way it showed, like I was like, oh my gosh, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. When we see the imagery of that, it was like not good. But I loved, even like you had mentioned, the practical effects. I mean, as he's got the wig on that becomes his hair, and the nose, and even the story progression of when they finally get that fake nose off of him and what happens and the ramifications later on with that nose. You know, that was
absolutely
it really was, because more often than not, it's just whatever, you know, it's tossed aside, forgotten, or whatever. But this had an actual consequence to it as well. And as they're ripping it off, or when he's trying to cut off the suit, and he, you know, and he puts the Sawzall down his. I'm like, I was yelling at the TV. I'm like, dude, why are you starting there? You already had bad when you tried to do it here.
But he even said, this is a bad idea. And you're like, if you know,
why wouldn't you start like at your leg, where you can see it, you can get some good angles with it, you know what I mean? So because it's not as tense if you do it that way. I know, I mean, I understand why, but this one though, I mean, it really, I think though, the trailer for it is more terrifying than the movie was. I mean,
I haven't seen the trailer.
So I remember when the trailer came out, and that was where I was like, oh, I'm very intrigued to see this, and yet I don't ever want to come near this film because it's just wrong, you know. And I wasn't really afraid with this movie. I mean, I was creeped out, and I was, you know, disturbed by it a lot, but it wasn't, I think it was more of the atmosphere from it, where I was just like...
Yeah, I think the story was just great. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's not... It had scary moments and the monster, but you're more horrified for the family. Like you want them to survive what has happened.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally it. Yeah. So it, Anyway, very good choice. That's yeah, and you're right. I think looking at it from story perspective, like on all of my list, this one was hands down the best story also just from the writing standpoint.
I was happy I found a good clown movies. Like, oh, they do exist.
Yeah.
You know, they're not all like terrible or funny, cheesy because it's good, or just horrific. Like, because I would class Terrifier as body horror B movie. Like, it's just, it's on my list because I know it's so gruesome and gory. There's a part where he's wearing another person's body, and I'm just like, yeah. But I wouldn't class it as a good story. It's pretty generic, I guess. We've seen those sort of serial killer films before, but for practical gore effects, it's incredible. But as in story, I think Clown, it's very good. I am happy though that we've reached the end of our top 5.
I am too. This was a tough week. And like we've said, clowns, there's just something not right about them. And I'm glad we're past this, because next week we are doing our top 5 comedic horrors. And so
on Halloween.
Yes. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I've got a few on my list already that, and some keep jockeying back and forth in position. So I'm looking forward to our discussion, because I think there's a lot of them on there that really do lend themselves. And I think humor with terror or horror play really well together, because it balances out the tension and can actually accentuate the horror aspect when done correctly.
I think it's my favorite type of horror, the comedy horror, because I can deal with it. You give me a little bit of levity, couple of minutes to breathe, and then chuck me back in.
Yes,
I'm good to go.
Absolutely. And there are some gems in there. So we hope next week that you'll tune in as well for that. And so hey, you know what? We're gonna wrap up our top 5 clown horrors. Just the
what's all your top 5? Like, I'm sure, because there's hundreds, and the list is endless. Let us know in the comments what are your top 5.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm not sure I'm gonna watch all of them.
I might watch the trailer.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would love to know, because I know there's got to be more out there that we're missing, that even,
and good ones
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, even that aren't on a streaming platform. Maybe they're just not accessible right now, or that you can only purchase them. Absolutely. Hey, that's totally great. I would just love to know, because I can put it on the list, and that way at some point check them out. But yeah, okay. Well, we're going to do our best thing we watched this week in the podcast. I'm pretty sure we're going to be speaking about Dune and some other things. So, you can check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor FM, wherever you want it. Oh, that's just wrong. Wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would love to have you over there as well. I'm Chris with Movies and Munchies. As you see, the disturbing look of that used to be Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. I don't know who's there in his spot, but please go over. Yikes. All right. With that, we'll let you go, and we'll see you again next week.